Hi and welcome. And I really am so excited today because I'm interviewing an amazing photographer called Baz Seal, who was introduced to me. We were introduced by a mutual friend a few weeks ago. And because of the work I do, I love photography and I love imagery. And it's always music to my heart when I meet a photographer who's really, really good at what they do. So I'm very excited today to be talking about the photography and imagery side of personal branding. So let me just introduce Baz Seal for you. And Baz is an established London photographer with over 30 years experience in fashion, London Fashion Week, corporate, celebrity and red carpet events. So he's had a massive of experience. He's received paid commissions to New York and throughout Europe, and also been privileged to photograph members of the royal family, which is an interesting one, I'm sure. Whether shooting for large global companies or capturing behind the scenes at a fashion show, his intuitive editorial style tells the true story, your story. And I think that's the magic behind it. So welcome, Baz.
Hi, Lesley.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, it's this authenticity and the true story behind the person which really intrigues me. And as you know, personal branding, leadership branding is the topic area that I've been focused on for the last 15, 16 years as a specialist in that area. And I've coached hundreds of people in that time, a lot of very senior people. And what I often find is when we're looking at their visibility and their profile and getting their expertise out there and their authentic self and their story, often I would say about 80% of the time, I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about this interview, I would say about 80% of the time, they don't have good photographs. And we know that a picture tells it tells 1,000 words, and people look at that first, and I think it often lets them down. And it's one of the aspects that I often say to people: you really got to get the photography updated, and particularly women, I think, because we're never happy. I'm sure men have the same issues, but women, we're never happy with it, so we tend to hang on to that old photo, and I've been guilty of that we love, because we haven't found anything that we like better. So it'd be great to talk to you about all of this. So I just want to welcome you and then just ask you really to start off with, as an experienced photographer, why are you so passionate about personal branding? Because I know that's the thread that you focus on.
Yeah, good question. I think, well, I kind of rewound back. I've been involved in the branding business, design agency, brand agency business, 30 years ago, effectively. So I've been educated for many years the importance of branding, mainly in the kind of FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, or I think in America they call it CPG or something. But in essence, the importance of the brand, when we think about brands, we always think about, for example, Apple, and I know they've got massive budgets, but they are just so consistent. You could cover up the logo, you know exactly who they are, who it is. And there's no reason on earth why that can't be transferred to individuals. And I think the core thing for me is that brands are all about an emotional connection. So if you're going to be personally branding yourself, the emotional connection is absolutely vital.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? And that seems to be the skill that you have, is capturing that person, that real self. And you shared with me some statistics that I hadn't seen actually about the people part of the corporate brands. I think you said to me that it's really interesting, and it's music to my heart again, because people are the brand of an organization today, in that Elon Musk has 14 million followers on social media and Tesla just 2 million, and figures like that. There were some others that you shared as well.
Yeah, but that's another example of people connecting at an emotional level. As I've said, I think CEOs these days, they can't hide behind their ivory towers. They're very much the public face. And, if you think of Elon Musk as an example, he's an incredible character, and he's just had a child, and his child's name is a code. I mean, it's just crazy, but yeah, he captures the imagination of people. And I think you'll find that a lot of organizations there, I think there's a statistic around that the staff of organizations have more followers than the actual organization. So and I think once again, it's because people make this real connection with real people rather than this kind of corporate stuff that we see all the time.
Yes.
And you get a sense of a real person telling a real story.
I think that's what we strive for, isn't it? We want to know the person behind the Dells of this world, the Ciscos of this world, the Microsofts this world. We want to know the people behind it, and the photography is so important to do that. I mean, we see the impact of that by when we look at LinkedIn profiles with no photograph, and
Wow.
it just says volumes about the person. It's like they're trying to hide, they're not real, we don't get a sense of the personality. So we know how important the photography is and the imagery is.
Yeah, I think
But
on that point, actually, I think the worst LinkedIn photo I saw from somebody very senior who will remain nameless, and it was him drinking a bottle of red wine on his holiday, and that was his profile picture, and I thought, you can't do that. But I
yeah,
think it also re-emphasizes the fact that your headshot isn't enough. Your headshot isn't telling your story. Selfies aren't telling the story.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm biased, of course.
Yes, so am I. But it's a fascinating topic. So I want to delve into this this launch of the new side of the business for you in the personal branding and Clique, where I believe you focus very much on photographing women, and it's a very niche area. You're very good at it. So why did you set it up and aim it at female entrepreneurs?
Good question. I think it started, I mean, obviously I've been shooting fashion for many years, etc. And obviously in the kind of female space, as it were. But I think I was fortunate enough to be involved in some women in business groups about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've seen these women stand up, they're doing keynotes, they're telling a very brave story, they're expressing how they've overcome many challenges in a personal way and also in a very professional way. I've kind of got feminist values in terms of I really support the equality side. And I think the fact that these women are kind of having now found a voice, I find that quite touching, actually. And as I said, some of these events that I've attended and photographed these women, and then I've captured them and we've gone off and done a few odd shoots. It seemed to me, because of my branding background, my kind of fashion background, there was a kind of a natural space for me to step into. And I think because social media has just gone so mental in the last few years, it's such a powerful tool that unless you've got images that back up who you are and you take control of that, otherwise someone else will be writing your brand story for you. So it's very important that you actually have control of your brand message and your brand story. And imagery, in the world where we're just flicking through every 2 seconds, these pictures hit immediately and tell their own story, but they have to be consistent. That's the trick.
Absolutely, and I love that. And you know, as much as we would want to live in a world where perhaps the non-verbal or the image hasn't got such a dramatic effect on how people judge us, that's how it is. So why not embrace it, make the most of it? And I think certainly over the years I've been photographed many times, of course, on a stage or for media shots and things. It gives me added confidence when I actually get those photos that are good, and I think, gosh, that really has brought out the best side of me, the personality, I think, rather than the too posed a shot, and the ones that really bring out my story and who I am as an authentic person, I've always loved the most.
And I think, you know, it's that word authentic again, isn't it? As I've said, I think there are many photographers and, you know, we can make beautiful shots of beautiful people, men and women, but really what we're trying to capture is the authentic you, the real you. That's
Absolutely.
not to say, yeah, I don't just produce, you know, it's very thought through and very considered, but it is still very natural. I mean, it might surprise you, I don't go anywhere near Photoshop, even though every woman I photograph goes, oh, I hope you put Photoshop that. And I go, you won't need it, it's cool, we're good. And
I'm going to share some of your work here, if I may,
oh,
and, you know, just talk us through a couple of these, because these do really
this
capture.
lady here, actually, Raymonda, she's an incredible lady. She launched Women in Business about 4 years ago, and she started in very small venues in London. And we met at a networking event, and I did some shots for her. Then I started to photograph her events. She's now gone global. She's got 150,000 followers in a short space of time. And the events that she now puts on are just world class. And
Fabulous.
the speakers that she has. So, and that is a very important shot, actually, capturing, you know, her being seen talking to her audience is a very, very powerful image.
And her brand there, absolutely. And I love shots like this. Black and white is always a favorite of mine, and I think it can often be really flattering for women as well.
Yeah, I think this particular lady, I think she was launching a boutique, so she wanted to get across a more of a fashion feel. So hence this type of shop is much more of a fashion type shop. But
absolutely. And then
that's Ramonda again. So even simple shots of just walking down the road, when you see these posts in context, they work incredibly well.
Yeah, those are great. So you could get a feel from these photographs how, in a corporate sense as well, we can really capture not just the headshot of the individual. And of course, we need a headshot for LinkedIn, but it really is the colours that you've got there, the lighting, the expressions, the stuff around. It really captures the person. You get a sense of who they are from that. I think they're incredible. And as women as well, we're always very self-conscious about the lumps and the bumps in the wrong place and the face, and you have this just this huge talent to capture all the best bits, and that's amazing.
Very kind of you. I think it's a two-way thing. I mean, as I said, I think most women would rather go to the dentist than have their picture taken, to be honest. And the first few shots, we get kind of chatting, and as I said, we've had a consultation prior to this, but once they get in the swing of it, they turn into supermodels. They absolutely love it in the middle of streets, and you've got big reflectors and lamps, and come on, move,
establishing that rapport, isn't it, to start with trust, really self-consciousness.
And if you look at the testimonials on my website, nearly every woman says how much fun it is, but that's not just me, that's the kind of correlation between both of us. So we just make it work, really. It's really good.
It's amazing. I mean, so let me just ask you, aren't all photographers capable of shooting and capturing a story? I think different.
I think the brand story it just goes slightly deeper. I think, yes, I'm in awe of millions of photographers, and they can take amazing, beautiful shots of women and men or whatever. But I think with the personal branding, it has to remain on track. It has to be telling your story. So we always discuss, in depth, what you're looking for, what you're trying to achieve, the background, the backdrop, whether it's a cityscape in town or whatever, is going to tell a story from someone that's in the financial sector, for example, versus somebody that might be in wellness and well-being. That might be more of a greener outdoor type of approach. But even down to some women actually wear consistent colours as well. Their colours are their brand. There's one particularly I know that wears yellow and green, which you could argue is never to be seen, but it's very strong for her, and every post she puts out is very strong in those colours. So I think it just goes deeper, and I'm not shooting for front cover of Vogue. I'm capturing you. I'm capturing the real you. And we'll have many scenarios where we're literally, going out into wherever. You won't believe the favours you have to beg in bars and clubs and cafes and the whole bit. But that all adds to the fun of it, really. It's really
cool. And I've had some fun with doing those kind of things myself. I think you go a stage deeper with really capturing the brand. What value do you think it brings to your clients? So, what's the end result for them in their business, and if they are entrepreneurs, what's it giving them?
Yeah, I think it's a critical business tool, frankly. I mean, as in any woman in business, any person in business, you're investing in equipment or clothes. I mean, think of a photographer, the amount of investment I have to make in my equipment. So you're kind of investing in how you look, you're having your hair, you're having wardrobes, you're getting all the bits and pieces you need, your laptops, your Apple gizmos. But they need to understand the importance of taking it to that next level and having a kind of a library of media ready images that they can use for all of their posts. And I always try and recommend at least twice a year, because there's obviously the spring summer season and the autumn winter. You don't really want to be posting a picture of yourself in a fur hat in June, for example, or likewise a bikini shot, not that I shoot bikini shots, or a summer shot in the winter. So it keeps you in the moment, I think, if you're shooting for those seasons. And these can be little 2-hour shoots. They're not a big investment of your time. I actually work very, very quickly. So in a couple
keeping it fresh as well. I think that really is important. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think in answer to your question, I think it's a very, very powerful business tool to have a range of images that you can use for your social media.
Yeah, and getting that personality, the brand out there, which we know is all important for entrepreneurs particularly. Yeah.
Hang on.
So are you limited to location because you're based in London? So what if you have somebody who's out in another country? How do you handle that?
Yeah, not a problem. And in fact, before the lovely COVID outbreak, I had about five appointments set up in New York City. I'll go out there for a week or 10 days, and I might shoot for 2 days, have a day off, and etc. So I kind of gaggle a few up. I was in Milan last year for a couple of shoots, I think Sweden. So there really is, no issue, because there's always more than one person to photograph. So just if I'm in London and shooting, I don't know, 10 people a month or whatever in London, there's no reason why I can't repeat that in other cities around the world, really.
No, sure. So you're very versatile with that. And, we could talk for hours about this topic. And I think we've really got across there, or you have, the importance of this and how it can make us feel good. And actually it's an essential business tool. And I've believed that for a long time. But I think certainly for women, and certainly women entrepreneurs, startups, it's hugely important, in fact critical, that we get that right to capture personality in the brand. That's what people buy today. So what advice or what message would you give to female entrepreneurs who are thinking about a personal brand shoot right now?
I think, once again, it's basically take control of your personal brand, before someone else does. I think beyond headshots and selfies. Right. I mean, a selfie will only give you one view, and that's kind of your view of yourself, really. Mm-hmm. But really, there are many expressions, many more natural approaches that you could take. So I think I would say to them, take it seriously, see it as a business tool, not just a vanity thing. See how you can use this to your advantage to help tell your story. Everyone's got their own kind of unique story. And I think the word you keep saying is absolutely right, Lesley, which is this authenticity. People see through all the sugar nonsense now. They want to get to know you. They want to get to see the real you. And I think through imagery, it's immediate. And that lovely saying about, you get one chance to make a first impression, la la la. I think, is it 4 or 5 seconds and people make a judgment?
That 5 to 7 seconds is roughly, yeah. Or can be a lot quicker. I read an article recently, it was about 10 milliseconds. So whether we like it or not, people do judge on what they see instantly. And of course, it's only one part of the brand and your reputation, but it's the instant thing. So
absolutely, it's absolutely.
We need to get it done.
I love the story on your showreel when you said there was a fire alarm at your hotel.
That's right.
And you said, there's you talking about the importance of appearance, and they said you were more worried about walking down into the lobby in your dressing gown and slippers, right, rather than there actually being a fire. I mean, that shows.
And it was -11 outside. It was in Halifax, Nova Scotia in December. Yeah.
But that just shows you the importance of how one must, present themselves to the world, really.
That's right. And that was real fear. And I think, I've shared that with some audiences, and the women particularly can really familiarize with that, how important that is, especially when you're going to be talking about image in a few hours' time on the stage. But there we go. So how do people get in touch with you, Baz? What's the best way to see your work and get in touch with you to talk about it?
Well, yeah, just now on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Also, obviously, have a website, cleep.international. There's no co.uk, it's just cleep.international. And everything is on there. You'll see the stories, you'll see the testimonials, you'll see a range of pictures, you'll see how the pictures are used within social media. You'll see the packages very easily kind of set up. And so, yeah, just drop me a line. Just
perfect. And we'll put the contact details are at the end of this recording, so we'll make sure that those are on there. But for now, that's been really fun, and I could talk to you for hours. And thank you for the work you do. It's valuable, it's needed, and I think particularly in the world we're in now, when we've all got to recover in business, a lot of startups are needing to put a lot of effort into their brand messaging, and what better way to capture the personality of the leaders in that business, and you do that so well. So thanks very much for your time today, Baz. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Goodbye.